So if we were to stop it here, and I say this because, as Mike pointed out, the Q&A is really important because that's where Chairman Bernanke gets pressed.
Sure.
But if you were to press a pause button here on the policy issues, I think you'd see the Treasury markets continuing to rally. You'd see yields coming down because there's a recognition that the markets overreacted to perceptions of a change in the liquidity paradigm. So it took the tapering too far, it jumped to a destination. And Bernanke has been talking back and walking back this notion of the destination. So if it stopped here, of course the Q&A is going to be critical,
right,
because that's where he gets pressed, and that's where he's going to be asked to provide more details, and we're going to be paying very close attention.
Right, and that's where we have seen him contradict himself, Mohammed. So if those yields continue then to come down, does that mean that we could see them go back to some of the lows that we saw earlier this year and to see the equity markets continue to rally to record highs?
So my colleague and PIMCO's founder, Bill Gross, has said it. You know, a 220 10-year is not out of the question at all this year. We could go back to 220 on the 10-year, and that would just be a normalization from what has been an overshoot. I think there's another critical issue, which is the market is obsessed, absolutely obsessed with its liquidity paradigm and how central banks are maintaining liquidity. Let's not forget fundamentals. And the data out this week confirmed that GDP for the second quarter may be as low as 1%. So the underlying economy, the US and China and Europe, is still quite fragile. So if you put the fundamentals with the technicals, they would call for lower yields from here.
Mohammed, just going from Bernanke, before I let you go, I want to ask you about the earnings season so far, and in particular, what you've seen from the banks. You know, you've got all the big banks beating profit estimates. They seem to be doing well on investment banking, on trading revenue. Do they tell you much about the health of the economy?
Not as yet. What they tell us is that various drivers, including the ability to reduce provisions, have helped banks in the second quarter. So that's really what they tell you. It's hard to extrapolate this going forward, given a couple of things. One is the real economy is weak, and the second thing is, don't forget that banks have reduced their risk exposure. So their ability to earn has come down as a result of the
they're not lending as much as well.
Even the amount of balance sheet they make available to everyday market activity has come down because of the volatility. So keep an eye on this, okay? It's going to be a really interesting question to see how sustainable these earnings are.